Hello, and welcome to POLS 3313, Public Policy Analysis. I'm Dr. Carl Snook, and I'll be your instructor for this semester. There's a lot going on this semester. We have several assignments for you to complete, and because the course is fully online, I think that making sure that we first start with a good introduction and then move forward into me giving you some ideas on how to succeed in the course is the best way for us to begin. This semester, I will be working primarily from my home. So if you want to have a appointment with me, the best thing for us to do is to arrange either a Microsoft Teams meeting or possibly we could speak on the telephone. Sort of the face-to-face contact of a Teams meeting is a little bit better. On the other hand, sometimes the convenience of speaking on the phone is better. You get to walk around, do whatever you were otherwise doing, not tied to your computer or to at least a desktop computer. Most of my time online will be from 10 to 12 and 2 to 4, Monday through Wednesday. I'm going to try to be a little more mobile over the weekends this semester as compared to some. However, I think that it's important for you to know that you can contact me anytime, all 7 days of the week, and I will be checking my email regularly to make sure that I'm able to get back in touch with you. Perhaps if it's a busy Saturday, you might not hear from me until the evening. On the other hand, I will try to stay up to date and in touch. And if you don't hear from me within 24 hours during the week, that should be an aberration. So our goal in this class is to introduce you to a style of political analysis where you're going to be looking at the costs and benefits, the advantages to society of adopting public policies. As such, this isn't going to be a course about the politics of policy issues. It's more going to be a course about trying to find, given our preferences, what would be the best policies for society to adopt. Quite often, we tend to think of public policy analysis as being apolitical, and I'm going to introduce you to a textbook this semester that says it can't be that. But at the same time, you have to be able to justify the policies in terms of how they make the society better off. And we have certain rules and biases towards certain outcomes, and I guess what I would offer to you is that public policy analysis is only one of many ways in which we interpret and decide what we should do as a political community. So we'll have several different assignments during the course. The first of which I think that will jump out at most of you is that we're going to have you all do a personal introduction right away during this first week. I'm going to have you post this as a discussion so that you're all kind of introducing yourselves to each other. If we were in a face-to-face class, it's quite often that everyone would stand up and say, hello, I'm so-and-so, and this is why I'm taking the course. And in this situation, you can do this in the discussion. None of you are obligated to give away any personal information. However, anything you want to add is entirely up to you. Don't threaten anybody. I have a section on netiquette in the syllabus. I think that we should be encouraging colleagues to each other. We're not competing in any manner, shape, or form. So we should be encouraging to each other and to try to create a community amongst ourselves. Now, I would warn you, right? If you have a question about the course, it's probably your best place to go is to me. If you are online and you ask a friend online about how to do an assignment, Well, you'll be fine as long as your friend knows exactly what to do. I might be the person who knows a little bit more about at least what I was intending. Your friend, if we study communication, we know that I have in my mind what I envision, you have in your mind what you're hearing, and it's difficult sometimes for us to communicate if you're getting the information third hand, then even more information is lost. So let's try to work on communication this semester. I think that if you were to ask me at the end of the semester, did I ask you too many questions? That there's very, very few students that I've ever had where I would say yes. And so if you are halfway through the semester and you haven't contacted me yet, other than the mandatory meeting that we're going to have, you might ask yourself, why not? You're certainly paying enough money that you deserve at least a few questions on my time, right? And so feel free, and I strongly encourage you to ask when you don't know. And I'm not telling you not to ask other people in the class. I'm not asking you not to form a learning community. What I'm asking you to do is to be sure when it's important enough, when we're asking questions that are about actual points in the course, that you contact me and we can work something out. We're going to have 5 reaction papers. So our modules in the course, and we have 9 modules this semester, will each have information. Well, some of them will actually have articles for you to read or videos for you to watch, and you will write a 2-page reaction to the article or to the video according to what that prompt is. So if you have 5 reaction papers worth 6 points, they're small, but they total up to a great deal during the course of a semester. 30 points out of 250 is certainly something that you can't afford to not do. But what doing the reaction paper, and a reaction paper is a paper that's a hybrid of a summary on your part and an analysis or extrapolation on your part. And so you figure half of the paper is you summarizing what the video was about. The other half is you telling me something that you thought about in light of the video, the reaction that you had. We're going to have a policy question assignment where you actually choose a policy and then talk about what you're going to do. Now, I want you to understand that in this course, when we say a policy, I'm not asking you in particular to have the policy already, the decided government action already done. What I'm asking you to do is to recognize what the policy problem is. In fact, I would say that it is a weakness of policy analysis of some people in their interaction with policy analysis is that they've already decided what to do and they go and they look for a problem. We're going to look at an article later in the semester by Cobb and Elder, two researchers in public policy, who noted that quite often you have already designed policy solutions or policy alternatives, and what they do is they go out and they look for problems to solve. One thing that you might imagine if you follow politics is think about Republicans. You'll see in states like Georgia in the United States, and what are they always saying? They should say, we should cut taxes. The economy's bad, let's cut taxes. The economy's good, let's cut taxes. You want to encourage somebody to do something, let's cut taxes. No matter what the problem is, the solution is to cut taxes, which I guess is all well and good if that's the policy outcome that you want. But I want you to start with a problem, and I want you to analyze the ways to solve that problem and then come to the solution. Now, I'm not kidding myself that you're going to radically change your mind. Some people have, but most people, most of the time, discover that they have reasons for the policies that they desire. So when we say the policy question assignment, what I'm really going to do is I'm going to ask you to find a policy problem area and to start to look at both what's wrong and what you would think fixed would be. That's why it's the question. The alternative will be your answer. Then we're going to have a midterm exam, and that's going to be a series of 6 questions that you pick 4 of. And then one thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a book report. Now there's a book by Deborah Stone called Policy Paradox. And Policy Paradox is one of the, I would argue, great books in public policy analysis, and even, you might say, in political science. In Deborah Stone, we're going to have an entire module where I'm going to introduce this book to you, which will be Module 2. We'll get you started right away on working on on the Stone report. And but just to say right now, she talks about where the different ideas and values come from. And I think that a lot of people assume that preferences are just a given. And that's not really true. There's a place where preferences come from. There's ways that preferences are formed. And Stone gives us a great deal of discussion about what a political community is, how you obtain membership in a political community, how political communities struggle to find a common interest, and ways in which those interests are translated into policy. And what I would like you to be able to do is first utilize this to write a good Stone book report. But then finally, when you're actually writing your policy analysis paper, to be able to utilize some ideas from Stone to execute a very strong paper. The policy analysis paper is worth 100 out of 250 points, and we're going to be working towards building that policy analysis paper all semester long. Now, I have a theory that any research design or term paper that you ever do is really a hidden essay final exam. What they're really trying to do is they're trying to give you an opportunity to ask a question that interests you, but then to utilize course material to answer that question. So if you're not able to find and utilize course material to answer research questions, in a way you're not really doing what the course hoped for you. And so as you're doing various assignments in this course, realize that everything we do builds towards you being a policy analyst who is able to understand and interpret public policy. If the paper that you write at the end of the semester looks like the paper that you would have written at the beginning of the semester, well, that's a failure on our part to communicate. That's a failure on our part to help you learn a little bit about the field in which you are being introduced in this course. And then finally, there'll be a few points on course engagement, just a way to encourage you, incentivize you to take part regularly in the course. So if you do, you'll get these points. Now, the one thing that I would say is that we have certain requirements. We will have one mandatory meeting, and our idea is that over this time, you'll speak to me about policy problems that interest you. We'll get you started on your paper, and we'll set a plan for you to move forward in the course. Now, a mandatory meeting should never be taken as the one meeting. You'll be able to communicate with me as many times as you need to talk to me, or to email me as many times as you need in order to succeed in the course. But what I would say is that getting students started, making students actually begin the course and begin the paper is critical. I would like this to be the transition moment in your academic career where writing a paper the day before it's due is something that starts to fall away from your style, and you start to work on papers and do research on papers throughout the entire semester. A paper that's thrown together at the last second is never as good as a paper that's been considered throughout. And so getting you all started right away is probably the best way to achieve our goals. I am requiring that the Stone Book report, the midterm, the policy analysis, and the mandatory meeting are all completed in order for you to pass the course. So if you are the kind of person who has a tendency to not do assignments and then at the end of the semester cajole instructors to make you not have to do that, but instead you're going to do some elaborate Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure style alternative assignment, you still have time to get your money back. But at the same time, I think that there's a chance that you'll actually enjoy all of these assignments if you engage them. The syllabus moves on after this and talks about several different course expectations. One thing that I'm going to try to be much stricter on this semester than I typically have been are assignment due dates. If you keep up on the course, you only have a short amount of time to complete each assignment because we move on to the next assignment. And I think that if you are intending to miss like a week sometime this semester, we're going to need to work something out on that. There is no sense in waiting until something happens for you to contact me, right? If you already know that you're going to the Bahamas in the middle of June, you should probably tell me. I don't know that I'm going to tell you back what you want to hear, but I'm a reasonable person. But I would say that I'm certainly not going to tell you back what you want to hear if you're telling me about a June 15th trip to the Bahamas in July. Late assignments will lose 25% right away this semester, and then we'll continue to lose points afterward. And so I really don't want that to happen. I'm really at my happiest in semesters where everybody passes. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant to give people bad grades, and I think that I think that it's not pleasant to receive them either. So I really hope that we have an enjoyable semester. I hope that we all do as well as we hope, and when you get the A or the B at the end of the semester, I hope you feel that you've learned something and you feel like you've earned that grade. If you don't feel like you've earned the grade and you don't feel like you've enjoyed the class, then getting the good grade will sort of be hollow. Because after all, probably no one will remember your grade, your particular grade in a particular class. Maybe overall, somewhere or another, whether you have a 3.4 or 3.8 might make a difference in your life, or maybe it won't. But I would say that what you learn, the added skill, the added ability to discuss something as it relates to a field of interest to you, is really what you're aiming for. And I suppose the credits so that you can advance a little bit closer to graduation. So obviously I have this thing I say, don't cheat, don't plagiarize. I'd say that It's usually panic at the end, which causes people to borrow heavily from other people's work. Mostly, if you credit the people who are the sources of your information, that will benefit you. Module 3 is going to be all about writing the research paper. So I think that you will have, that it will be a very good idea for you to spend some time and internalize the material in Module 3. After all, the ability to write a good research paper, the ability to find good sources, the ability to back up what you're claiming, and to correctly cite the sources for that evidence is really critical in any kind of academic work. I would also add that sometimes when you're making a claim and your instructor says, you know, I just don't believe that, and you have a couple good sources, it usually causes them to say, oh, I guess you're right. Because after all, you know, if you are just telling somebody something that's very obvious to him, how much have you helped him? But if you've uncovered evidence that makes somebody think differently about a public policy or some issue in society, you've engaged in what the goal of political science is. And finally, I would say that I have a thing about uniqueness. I know that when you take several classes at one time, that there's a tendency to want to save yourself effort by writing on the same topic again and again. And you will not be able to write on the same topic as you're doing in some other course without first obtaining my permission. And I would say probably the permission of other instructors. It wasn't for my sake that I adopted this rule, but rather I had a professor in another course complain to me that a student had turned in an assignment that was identical in the two courses, and that instructor saw that as plagiarism. And so I decided to help students out by putting right in the syllabus that don't write on the same topic as you're writing on in another course unless you have prior approval. And so hopefully you'll either write on something that is unique to our course, or you will work something out. The final page of the syllabus is just a course outline. I want you to focus, though, on moving through Module 1 as quickly as possible. You're also going to have Module 2, which is an overview of the Stone Book. Then Module 3, which begins is all of the instructions and directions and rubric and everything that you need to know for the policy analysis paper. I would keep the information, I will keep the information for Module 3 and Module 2 open all semester long. And I'm hoping that you continually refer back to it as you build your paper, as you put together your paper. The fact that I'm introducing this material at the beginning of the semester should be an indication to you that I want it to organize and structure all of the research that you're going to do for the rest of the semester. The second textbook in the course, the Bardock book, is the topic of Module 4. And then after Module 4, we're going to begin several modules where we're going to talk about policy theory, markets, and how we can use economic systems in order to obtain policy outcomes that we seek, and welfare economics, which is government working to fix problems in the market. For the most part, what we're going to do is dedicate a week to each of these modules, and so keeping up as we go along will be very important. We should keep in mind that uh, that working on the paper and doing research on the paper will always be important in the background. Staying in touch will be important. Note, however, that after the midterm exam, and the midterm exam is at the end of Module 6, that we still have more material, but that material is mostly informational to help you write a better policy analysis paper. So we have a lot, and each of the modules is going to begin with a brief overview by me, and then be followed up by additional material and sort of what you're supposed to learn with that module. And we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I think it should be rewarding work, particularly because we've chosen policy analysis as a topic to engage this semester, and I think that I think sometimes that buying in and working on something is the best way to have a good time while you do it. Doing only a little bit of work tends to make the entire process miserable, both for you and for me. So if we decide that we're going to have a good time and we decide that we're going to uncover and learn a lot about policy analysis and about a certain policy problem that interests you, I think that that's the best way for us to enjoy our semester. If you need to contact me, my campus email is csnook1@kennesaw.edu, and I strongly prefer being contacted by campus email over being contacted by the D2L page. And since I won't be in the office this semester, all you need to do is contact me to set up an appointment if necessary. All right, thank you.